certain.
Alright.
Only music can help you to find the right way. The way you should follow today. This way will take you to the best genres of music from around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
DJ Double G.
Yes, indeed. This time around, the software decides to stay with me for good today. Unlike last week, coincidentally. Welcome to another edition of Down the Middle. And of course, my name is DJ Double G. Well, depending on how you look at it. Of course, my name is David if you're looking at analytic side of me. But if you're talking about the production side of things, I'm DJ Double G. Same person, just two different personalities. Of course, there is no football roundup this week again. Both King and Queen have other duties, so hopefully next week, if everything goes well, we have a packed show for you today. So without further ado, we give you Mr. Jazzy Smith. He's not Dexter Shabalala today. Tomorrow, before you get that side of him, he is Dexter Daniel Smith. Jazzy Smith.
We have many personalities in one, and whichever one has used is not too much of a problem. But yeah, greetings to my fellow listeners in Radio Land. This is another episode of Down the Middle.
Yes,
like my brother mentioned, that we have a very packed show today. We're going to dive into a little cricket and a lot of controversies.
Coincidentally, listeners, if for those who did not check the show out last week, this time last week we had a terrible engineering problem, courtesy of the software. We had a whole bunch of echoing, a whole bunch of woo, and then after the show was done, when we decided to bring the West Indies, I think it was the third day?
Yeah.
Third or fourth day, something like that. The software says, okay, that I will accommodate, but not the show.
Okay.
Everything is okay. How are you on your side of the world, sir?
I am doing super good on my side. Can't complain.
Yes, sir.
Everything is all right.
So let's dive into the world of sports today, sir.
All right. That's a deep dive. That's a straight dive in my shoe, man. You know, not even learning into it. All right. Well, for our listeners who are cricket fanatics, you may know that there is supposed to begin the second test match between the West Indies and Bangladesh at Sabanga Park in Jamaica. But unfortunately, due to Duckwood and Lewis, the match has not touched.
Mr. Wayne Lewis, good evening to you, sir.
The field is wet.
due to an overnight, for the past couple of days, it has been raining heavily in Jamaica. And one thing they have been complaining about is um, I hear my good friend Orville Higgins, um, veteran broadcaster, he and the team, they were talking about um, the, the fact that the naturalness of the earth, the naturalness of the pitches is not what it was 10, 15, probably 30 years ago. And which means they have to be using sawdust and rollers and all that kind of stuff to get the pitches ready, as well as blowers to get the water or majority of water off the pitches. And if that doesn't work, then you technically don't have a day's play, which is poor in the Caribbean, if you ask me. Especially with these pitches, and also commentators, Darren Ganga, and the rest of them, they were talking about the fact that the shift per se in terms of games, but whether you shift it or not, it's not going to make a difference because it technically rains every day in the Caribbean, so there's nothing for you to change.
Once you're in the Caribbean, expect rain.
Technically.
Technically.
So, you'll play on the first day of the second test match, second of two test matches between Bangladesh and West Indies.
Well, just keep in mind that we won the first test match. So unless the Bangladeshis can pull off a win in a short space of time, that it can only be level.
That's the good thing about it. Bangladesh, so it is left up to Bangladesh to either draw the series or lose the series, because West Indies can never ever lose the series again. So that's a good sign for the boys. Of course, led by the veteran Craig Brathwaite and his team. I'm happy to see Shamar Joseph back in the squad again after he dominated down under some months ago, taking some 10 wickets down in Australia.
Yeah.
Under medical restrictions per se, in terms of him being injured, coming back, in a couple hours and taking 10 wickets it's a brilliant way to technically open your test match debut.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to open.
Of course, Darren Sammy said as well, I'm going to keep you in the squad because, of course, he was in the squad for the first test match between West Indies and Bangladesh last week. And that match was played in Antigua at the Sir Richards Stadium. So the good thing is that no rain fell, so we had 5 days of match. That's a good look. So in Jamaica this time around.
Yeah. This is where we are. But before we go too deep into cricket, in terms of West Indies cricket, I just want to sidetrack. Since you mentioned down under, there is a match between England and New Zealand. Test match currently ongoing. This match is being played at the Hagley Oval in New Zealand. And New Zealand was sent in to bat. They made 348 in their first innings, and England responded with 499 all out. Well, that's one short of 500.
When was the last time you've seen a team actually scoring over 500 runs?
That's a while, you know. That's a while.
Exactly.
That's a while to me. And then New Zealand, in reply, in their second innings, 155 for 6, which means that New Zealand has a lead of 4 runs. So it's not looking good for the New Zealanders, as the England is favored to win this match. They are on 93.8% favorability of winning this match.
Like I was telling you off air a couple of hours ago, that England came to the Caribbean and was slapped, technically. I mean, of course, they won a couple of games, but losing the series that they played. So of course they're gonna go back they're gonna go back home and plan their way out as it regards to New Zealand. And like I said, revenge is sweet when you are on the winning side, eh?
Yes.
So
It sure is.
indeed.
Yeah, so for those who are just stay tuned, I will give you how that match turns out in the end. But let's take
It's a done deal for England. Because if with 9 wickets down or so,
6 minutes down.
it's not gonna. I mean, if the operative word is if New Zealand can push to maybe 100 before getting bowled out, it still would make a difference, but at least it would keep England in the field for some time.
Yeah, a little bit, not by much.
And it's just like I said, like we said, it's just a lead of 4 runs. So technically, New Zealand is for 6. Technically, if you look at it that way. So
Yeah.
it's pretty simple for England. The likes of Mark Wood and the rest of Moeen Ali and the rest of the team, Jofra Archer, who I still have a problem with because he should have been in the Bayesian side at least. But West Indies,
West Indies look at him and be like, nah, we don't want you.
Yeah, he's dominating against the West Indies. That's the poor thing about it. And West Indies does not understand exactly how detrimental that can be against them. So imagine Jofra Archer coming to the Caribbean and bamboozling the West Indies in Barbados
Yeah.
when truth is he should be playing in maroon colours in Barbados against England. But
that's the nature of sports, eh?
Jofra Archer is one of those persons I have time and patience for, because he's growing to be one of the top dogs, quote unquote, in England in terms of fast bowling. And Jamaica and West Indies lack fast bowlers right now. So
yeah. So let us take a trip from down under back into the Caribbean. Like we mentioned that the first test between the West Indies and Bangladesh, ended. So let's go into the highlights of the match. And
Just
from
before we
there,
do that, there's a I was actually looking at a Premier League match at the Guyana Cricket Premier League, and I just saw Carlos Brathwaite on the winning side a couple of minutes ago. The teams, I'll try to get the name of the teams before the end of the show, hopefully. But the opposition, Carlos Brathwaite's team actually went into bat. They made 135, and then the opposition dropped short by some 5 runs, making 131 for 8, with Carlos Brathwaite bowling the 20th over, and the opposition needed 18 from the last 18 from the last 3 deliveries, coincidentally. And we all know exactly what Carlos Brathwaite did in 2016, taking 4 sixes from the over when the West Indies needed some 23 runs from the final delivery against Ben Stokes. Now, Ben Stokes' response was he wasn't thinking, he just wanted the over to be ending. Well, Carlos Brathwaite this time around was on the receiving end, which means he had the ball in hand as captain, and he was struck for 2 consecutive sixes after those 3 deliveries. And everyone was saying, hey, I wonder if history can repeat itself, but this time around with Carlos Brathwaite on the receiving end, not to be, because he bowled right up into the block hole. And as a result of that, the opposition actually lost the game by some 5 runs. That's in the Guyana Premier League 2024.
yeah, the man Carlos Brathwaite still has a legacy to defend. You know,
Yeah, but it wasn't against Ben Stokes this time around.
it doesn't matter, eh?
It wasn't against Ben Stokes this time around, like Marlon Samuels in 2012 when against Sri Lanka in the finals against Lasith Malinga. I can just imagine. Of course, indeed. All right, so let's take the highlights, and let's take the highlights of the final minutes of the West Indies versus Bangladesh on the final day, with the West Indies winning by some 201 runs. Let's do this.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to day 5, first test match, West Indies versus Bangladesh. It has been one of attrition throughout the 5 days. Seals to begin proceedings. Again, nice control. First boundary of the morning. The edge is found, and the West Indies have their first of day 5, and Joseph has his first of the innings.
Good delivery. Mahmood had to play. Good seam presentation. Just touch the edge, an easy low catch to Joshua De Silva, the wicket keeper.
Now they take the single. Oh no, they don't, because they get a boundary. Joseph just wants the ball at Taskin. Good batting though from Jakir Ali. Brilliantly played. Came across his stumps, Jakir Ali, and a bit of his white ball game coming out now in this test match. Did come across, he came across to his detriment. Jakir Ali will review it, but we think that is adjacent. Good from the West Indies.
Original decision out. Pitching outside out. Impact in line. Wicket sitting. Stay with your original decision, Kumar. Stand by. You're on screen. Please signal.
Would have been gone had it hit.
That is a joke.
Taskin retains the strike. 1-3-2 for 9. And they're shaking hands, so it looks as though they've declared again. The hostility of Alzarri Joseph, I think it won't be said, but I think he's had an impact on both declarations. A win by 201 runs here for Craig Brathwaite's men against Bangladesh at North Sound. Antigua continues to be a good hunting ground for the West Indies against Bangladesh.
So there you have it, sir.
Yeah. Go straight into the one of the men. Post commentary.
Thanks of this first test win. 18 wickets for this fast bowling group. They've insisted that Justin Graves be here as the all-rounder as well. Kimar, leader of the attack, I'm going to start with you. How proud are you of these men?
Fantastic group of guys. Extremely proud of the group we have. So they've been together for a bit now. Obviously Justin coming into the fray, and you see his skills, you see what he brings to the team. So as a unit, me obviously to be the old campaigner, I'm happy to be a part of this guy. They keep me young, and I'm just glad to be here.
Let me go to the next senior man in Alzarri. Alzarri, in the nets, in games, how do you guys challenge each other?
I mean, it's always a pleasure being among this group of guys. In the nets, we try and help each other as much as we can. I mean, it's always a challenge to see, who could be more consistent, who can even get more wickets in the nets, especially Jaden. But it's good. It's good. It's a really good challenge, among all of us.
And Jaden, when you look at the makeup of this lineup with all five of you, how do you think you guys are able to complement each other?
I think we're very well complemented because of how the pace of Alzarri and Shema, and then the skills with Roche and myself and Justin. We just come in and try and build that pressure, and obviously force the batsmen to do something that they don't want to.
And Justin, since you're next to him, what role have they given you in this all-rounder slot?
Well, obviously in the first innings, a bit of a holding role. Obviously, got 2 wickets in the end, which is obviously bonus with this fantastic quartet that we have of fast bowlers. But in the second innings, just come in and hold the line, and the guys did their thing.
And I'll now go to Shamar. Shamar, tell me, you've been the latest addition to these three. How have they embraced you, and how have you enjoyed coming into this West Indies Test team?
It's a great feeling, to be honest. Watch men like Kimar Roach, Alzarri, all these men play cricket when I had no thoughts of playing the game. Coming in and being embraced by them and being so welcome. They teach us quite a lot as youngsters how to go about ourselves, and yeah.
Now, aside from the seriousness, I've seen a lot of chatter on the field between you guys. Who is the leader of this aggressive committee?
Guilty.
How much did you enjoy that aspect, Jaden, the battle aspect of this test match?
I enjoyed every bit of it. I think for me, Test cricket is about hard work and obviously trying to have some fun on the field. Even if it's just giving the batsman a bit of banter, even amongst ourselves, is always good fun.
And Kimar, you've seen so many years of Test cricket, 15 years of West Indian Test cricket. Can we have more situations where the West Indies are playing 4 and 5 pacers?
Oh, of course. But it starts with the pitches. I think we still have a pitch crisis in the Caribbean. I think we need to have a big meeting in the people in charge. And I think once you get those guys on greener pitches, harder pitches, bouncier pitches, we all know what's going to happen. We're going to challenge batsmen more often than not. So I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. But going forward, we work together, we sit together. Don't care how hard it is, we're going to be out there giving the best for West Indies.
Alzarri, coming to you, what does it mean to have a performance like this from you individually at Antigua, a place that's produced the likes of Sir Andy Roberts, Sir Curly Ambrose, and many more?
For me, it's always something good to have performance anywhere in the Caribbean. But it's always good to put a performance like this at home, especially in front of the small support you have here. For me, like you said, we have a lot of legendary fastballs from this country, so it's now for me to make my own path into that place.
And Shamar, what have you been able to learn from these gentlemen since coming into the team?
Just enjoy the cricket. Kimara always said that just enjoy the cricket, enjoy every piece of it. You will have hard days in Test cricket, which is a must, but we just enjoy as a group every single day in training, at the hotel, at the ground, in the game, all of that. We just enjoy every bit of it.
Before I end with the senior statesman and Kimar, I want to know from any one of you guys, 80 runs in the first innings between you four to support Justin for his 100. Do you guys, fast bowlers, need a raise?
Yes.
Well said. Kimar, I'll end with you. Going to Jamaica, what should West Indian fans be looking forward to seeing from this team and this fast bowling unit?
No, fight again. A hard test match for the opposition. I think we're going to go out there, have a discussion overnight, and leading up to the test match in the second test match against Jamaica. We're going to plan, and we're going to come hard again. I think we have a very fresh unit and kind of guys playing one cricket and stuff. But if me, Justin, Shamar, I think once we step on that field and we put on this badge for West Indies, we're going to give it a top effort. And I'm looking forward to Jamaica Test match.
Gentlemen, the entire region is proud of you. All the best in the second test match where you will look to win the series.
Cheers. Thank you.
So there you have it.
Yeah. Online.
Yes, sir. I was saying to you off air that Kemar Roach has a Carlos Brathwaite deal in terms of win, lose, or draw. Carlos Brathwaite is always up. Always optimistic. Always saying, team must be full charge. And you will get that from an Australian, Pakistan, English team. Whether win, lose, or draw, they're always upbeat. And I think that's exactly what he's trying to instill in the team as a senior batsman, as a senior player in the team. So I think that's a good look. That's enough for a start.
Well, the thing is, my friend, one thing that you know about cricket and even sports in general is a game of glorious uncertainties, right?
True.
So there are days that you're going to win, there are days that you are not going to win. But in spite of it all, you need to be positive because there is always a next game to face. So if you put all your negativity on the game that you lost and forgetting that there is another game to come, then you're not really helping yourself.
True.
So I think the main focus is that guys, let's keep on looking forward. We won this first match, good. Now we now have to win the series.
Exactly.
Let's see how we do.
Exactly. I mean, and that should, as a player, that should give you a boost in terms of whether whatever happens, we don't care. The fact is, we won the game. That should tell you, and that should push you enough to say, okay, whenever we go to Savannah Park or wherever we go next, we are going to carry. We're going to take the same attitude. Carry the same attitude with us. Do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yes, indeed.
So, I mean, the question has been asked, and Ian Bishop is this man is always here and there. He actually said
some troublesome questions.
He actually said it. Is it the fact that is it the reason for declaring twice? Is it because of this man? Truthfully.
Well, again, I will say this. From looking at the match, that Mr. Alzari Joseph was being very much aggressive. There was an aggressive nature to it. I'm not too sure the response to that aggressiveness, whether it's because of lack of experience or it was really good, that I do not know. But I know definitely Alzari Joseph really was aggressive, which we don't necessarily see from the West Indies fast bowlers.
Alright, so let me ask you a question then. Do you think the fact that he had a too much ban, do you think that could be a factor in terms of proving himself into this New Zealand Bangladesh series?
That could very be part of it, you know. It could very be on the tip of it.
Well, the only person that can answer that question is Alzari himself. Well, unfortunately, he's not in studios with us.
But if you're listening, you can always give us a call.
The powers that be that controls Alzari Joseph's whereabouts, please have him give any one of us a call or a message. You never know. But I just think that could well be a part of the factor. Him stepping out and saying to Sammy, look,
well,
whatever happened as it regards to the English tour, forget this. Let's move on. You know, I've served my two match ban. You know, let's get this done. And whatever happens, happens. It's already gone. We can't fix it. So, Bangladesh, here I come. And he dominated.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the only thing I will say for Alzari Joseph, my friend, can you please bowl like you are always coming from a too much ban?
Exactly.
If that's the case.
Another thing is, we all know exactly what the pitch in Sabina Park can do. I'm just wondering if he, with a pitch like the one in Sabina Park, I wonder if he still can pull the rabbit out of the hat per se, in terms of his A game is not what I'm talking about here, because he can surprise at any given time. But the thing is, the pitch, and any fast bowler will tell you, the pitch will play a major part. Because of the fact that, for number one, the pitch is not dry enough because of the extensive rain for a couple of days. Do you think that will play a major part, or will play against the faster bowlers, especially Alzari?
Well, coming into a match after heavy showers of rain, it's always going to affect the side that is having the first ball, right? Because you have a soggy outfield, the ball is wet, and all those kind of things. So it will play a role as to how much it can get out of the pitch. But as they always say, in spite of the pitch, whether it's a good pitch or a bad pitch, it's up to you, the bowler, to put your back into it. You really just have to go out and just do what you need to do.
Which means the bowlers have to work twice as hard to get something on the pitch per se, because you can't say the pitch is already, there's moisture in the pitch, more than enough moisture in the pitch, and based on what we are seeing, it's going to take a longer time for the pitch to dry out completely. So that will play a definite major part in either winning or losing this match, actually.
Yeah, because even as we speak, there is still no game being played yet. You're still waiting for the pitch to dry off.
And the cut-off time for this is about, if the match actually started at 10 o'clock in Jamaica, by 5 p.m. or 50 thereabout, that's day's play. So, I mean, lights at Sabina Park, but that's a different story.
That's a different story. The best thing that we can hope for is we can start by tea.
Which is about 2 o'clock, 2:30. So I
But one thing that is when the commentator was asking about the nature of the fast bowlers, can you see 4 or 5 fast bowlers on the West Indies team?
Kemar Road says yes.
But we need better pitches.
Exactly. I mean, getting the faster bowlers is not the problem.
But do we have the pitches to support the faster bowlers?
That's the question.
Because time and time we have been seeing pitches that have not been doing what they're supposed to do. Look, in the World Cup held in the Caribbean / United States, the pitches were terrible.
You could count on your hand how many pitches were perfect. Or I wouldn't say perfect, it was up to par, per se. But
and if you want to ask me, some of the United States pitches was even better than the Caribbean pitches.
My point exactly. Do you think then? Now the question arises: do you think it's because of the lack of capital?
I do not think it's a lack of capital.
What do you think?
If the only thing I can put my fingers in is probably expertise, because you need to have a good knowledge of what it takes to put a fast bowling pitch versus a spinning pitch, and so on and so forth. So maybe that. But capital, I don't see that as a problem, because if West Indies is not willing to extend the capital into their team, then what are they doing?
If you're not quote unquote paying the players, where is the cash going then? So
exactly,
it's not like the West Indies does not have cash. They do. But the question is, where is the cash? Or what is the cash being used for?
And to extend, I know that in St. Lucia, we have like one of the best persons for the grounds, which is the Crafton brothers. And I know that they travel the length and breadth of the Caribbean,
yes, indeed,
to do just that, to keep the pitches in good order.
Well,
so yes, they can be everywhere, but we need people, more Craftons,
exactly,
to keep the pitches in good order.
Well,
when a team comes to the Caribbean, they should already know that they're going to be receiving a fast pitch, and they need to prepare themselves for it.
Exactly.
No, the pitches are so dull, they don't want to bounce, the spinners are having a fun time with the pitches. Come on, guys.
I mean, remember 5, 10, probably 15 years ago when you had the likes of Carlos Brathwaite, Kemar Roach, Dino Bess, clocking at almost 200 miles per hour. Balls, batsmen had to be going down on hands and feet just to have balls flying up. You know what I mean? You don't see that anymore. Pitches are just there. Which means the bowlers will have to work twice, triple times, quadruple times, even probably 10 times harder to get a wicket. And it's not like so what we're seeing here is not the bowlers taking wickets because they have the opportunity to do it. The batsmen are basically just saying, hey, look, it's hard to take wickets, here you are. I mean, you have one or two deliveries that would do the job, but how many of those deliveries does he have? How many of those deliveries can the bowlers produce?
Yeah.
If you don't have a pitch that supports your bowlers, you're going to have problems.
They will put their effort into it as they should, but it's just more work to get the same results.
Exactly.
But you know, we will come to that in a while because we have a controversy to deal with. But
Yes, indeed.
but you know, I think, as you said, you know, I don't think it's the money. I really don't think it's the money. I just believe that the same way that we in the Caribbean is supposed to look forward to the next rising stars, and the same way that we need the next rising umpires, the same way that we need the next rising coaches, the same way that we need the next rising skills men to hit the field. Because everything is a science. It's not coming out. It's not just coming out of the screen.
Uh-huh.
I don't just put some soil on a cracked surface. This is not what it is.
Well,
You need to know how much grass you need to cut, how much soil you need to put, how much water you need to drop on the ground.
yep.
It's a science, guys. It's a science, people. It's not just cutting grass.
Yeah.
That's not just killed by your home.
I mean, West Indies. I mean, the powers that be just need to do what they need to do. You know what I mean? So,
And finally, when they ask, do you fast bowlers needs a raise? Like,
say again.
what do I say about that? Finally, do you fast bowlers need a raise? Well, yeah, we do.
But my question is, even if we don't need it, which we do, who would actually refuse a raise? Tell me.
Exactly.
Even if we don't, or even if we, well, in this case we do, or the players do, but who in their right mind would actually turn down a raise, Mr. Smith? You tell me.
I agree with you, but just to go into why I think it's needed. If a bowler is supposed to do a bowler's job and still have to come in and do a batsman's job,
Exactly.
then come on, guys, give me what I need. Pick me up. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's like it's like a goalkeeper. In a football match, have to be stepping out and in a midfield area to defend or to stop the opposition. Then that doesn't look good. I mean,
Nope.
of course, every bowler, that's why England, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, all of them are, from 1 to 11 has a top, has a great batting lineup, because from number 1 to 11, can strike a delivery, you know what I mean? Can strike a ball. But I'm saying, like, the West Indies, these players have to double because the top order batsmen are failing profusely.
Yeah.
They are failing
badly.
Well, badly. You're being too nice.
Well, let me use a Trump's word. They are failing bigly. All right, then.
You have to go there, huh? Okay, then.
Yes, I did it. Yes, I did it.
All right. So you actually mentioned some controversy as it regards to the West Indies.
Yes.
So the West Indies is back in the news twice.
Once again.
What did they?
Once again.
Yes, indeed. This time for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for the very wrong reasons. Because a Super 50 finals
Yep.
was played, and up to now we do not know who win because nobody took the bill.
Well, I will tell you this, that the podcasters actually said, and I agree with them 100%, that I agree with them 100% that the West Indies Cricket Board and the powers that be, the West Indies Players Association and whoever else,
Really screwed up.
it does not look good on Dr. Keith Shallow's reputation, if you ask me. And based on what I'm hearing, as the clip will tell you, that next, in another 4 months or so, is the presidency election, and if
some people will be calling for his death,
if certain things don't go the way it should, they're not gonna vote for him. They're gonna want him moved.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, let's dive into the first half of this clip, and then we could, of course, we have 2 clips to play for you. Let's take the first one.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt, and with me as ever is Father Santolki. Father, how you doing?
Yeah, Mash. You know what, Mash? I don't know what's been happening since I became a father. We planned to do an ODI series review, England West Indies. It ended up being the Alzari Joseph cuss-out where he walked off the pitch. We're looking at the test squad for Bangladesh. Ended up being the good Keshmoti, why is he playing Guyana, down bad Super League. And today, we said, you know what, we'll do a Super 50 review, actually talk about cricket on the field. I got my stats ready. I was out here ready to talk about, Amir Jangu, Justin Graves. And then, the press release dropped about, an hour before recording. Much to the disappointment of Jamaica Mash and your people them, no champion has been crowned at Super 50. Breaking news, I repeat, this is not a mistake. No champion has been crowned at Super 50. We have seen a 3-week tournament and no one is lifting the trophy. No one is eating the food with the prize money. I don't know where that prize money is going to go. But the latest news is there's no champion crowned at Super 50. I'm going to go into the press release because obviously a lot of people have questions about this. So this is taken from the official Cricket West Indies press release. An anticlimactic conclusion to what has been an exciting and competitive Super 50 2024 has seen both finalists, Barbados Pride and Jamaica Scorpions, forfeiting the final. Consequently, Cricket West Indies has announced there is no champion for this year's competition. The tournament's organisers made the announcement following a heavy rain-affected match delay. With an initial scheduled start of 1 p.m. local time, scattered showers began at the ground around midday. That's the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Trinidad, forcing the first delay to the start of proceedings. Match referee Rion King, in conjunction with the umpiring team, informed both teams that the latest possible start time was 6:17 p.m., at which point the game could be played as a 20-over match. According to the playing conditions applicable to the tournament, if no play was possible at all, or in the event of a tie, both teams would be declared co-winners of the tournament. However, never a dull day in West Indies cricket. Around 5:45, the officiating team determined the game could proceed at the latest possible start of 6:17 p.m. They informed the players of this, and the toss would be conducted at 6 p.m. Despite assurances from the umpire and match referee that the conditions were safe for play, both captains failed to be present for the toss, allowing time to elapse past the latest starting point. As a result, both teams failed to take the field, effectively refusing to play. This resulted in an unprecedented, never before seen double forfeit with no champion being declared. Now, Mash, as I said, this press release dropped about an hour ago. Talk to me. Talk to me, Mash. It's a lot to take in.
Do you know what? Like, this is one of those situations in West Indies cricket, and I want everybody. We get on with a lot of people behind the scenes in West Indies cricket, and when I say get on, I'm not talking like some like friend business. I'm just talking about for all the people listening to this particular episode, and whether you're a long time follower, listener of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, or a recent kind of supporter, we are always respectful behind the scenes to people who are involved within West Indies cricket. So everything we're about to say in this episode, there's no malice intended. It's just, as we always do on this on our show, Santoki, we just ask the questions that need to be asked. And before we went live or recorded, I said to you, why did they put this press release out? And it's got to a point, Santoki, where I actually think that Cricket West Indies should consult us. I'm being deadly serious. I am being so serious. It's got to a point where I think they should consult us before they put out a press release and say, Machel, Santoki, what do you think people are going to say if they read this press release? What reactions do you think people will have if we put this press release out? And we can then tell them, boy, if you say that, it's likely that people ask the following questions. Santoki, when I read that press release, there's so many things that I wrote down that were wrong with it. But the first thing, and I think where we should start with it, is if you put out a press release which say the captains did not turn up for the toss. Let's just start there. Let's start with that. If you put out a press release and admit the captains did not turn up for the toss at 6 o'clock with play allegedly able to start at 6:17 at the latest, the most obvious thing people are going to say is, how did that happen? And if you don't address it in the press release, it makes your organization look stupid. You offered up the information, so you have to address it. You have to provide the answers. You can't just offer up the information. Everyone's holding a one laugh and busting up at it, and then there's no answers as to why that happened. No one's looking to Barbados to give us answers. No one's looking to Jamaica Scorpions to give us answers. Everyone's looking to Cricket West Indies and saying, how did a situation unfold where two captains, both of them, not one, both of them failed to turn up? No answers provided. And now, when world cricket hears the news, because we have a duty to put out the information, because you put out the information, so we're going to put out the information. And now everyone's holding one big laugh at West Indies cricket again. What on earth, Santoki? Let's start there. Yeah. Why put that out if you didn't have an answer for it?
Yeah, the whole point of press releases, essentially from a media point of view, is damage control. So you're essentially controlling the narrative, addressing sort of any queries people might have. As you said, Mash, this just leads us to more questions because we've got two captains, so Raymond Reefer for Barbados Pride and John Campbell for Jamaica Scorpions. What was the reason that they didn't show up for the toss? Obviously, we can put two and two together. Us as analysts can say, all right, cool, it was heavy rain. Maybe they thought the pitch was dangerous or they didn't agree with the conditions. But that's not clarified in the press release. It's almost as if it's two separate topics. Oh, yeah, it was raining. There were delays. But also, the captains didn't show up. As if, like, was there a protest? What was going on? So that immediately offers big questions. Secondly, as you said, I'm trying to even process this even now, Mash. So, secondly, how can you just end it there, though, by just saying they didn't show up, it's a double forfeit, we're going to decide what to do? What were the conversation? Was there no conversation, no dialogue? What sort of happened? And you know what's mad, Mash? I went to bed last night about 11 p.m. UK time, and I was checking the scorecard, I saw on the Cricket West Indies website, it said, match abandoned without ball bowled. I woke up in the morning, early morning, and I saw there was nothing on Cricket West Indies social media page to suggest, that there'd been a forfeit, not a forfeit, an abandonment. I expect to see pictures of both captains holding the trophy, shared fingers, what was alluded to. I saw nothing. That's when I started saying, hold on, something's going on here. So I even went back, man, just how bad it was, man. I went back to watch the live stream last night of the game. And Darren Ganga, literally at the end of the match, he's saying, okay, cool, there's been a rain delay. oh, I've just been told the match is off because the captains have refused to come out. Therefore, nobody wins. And that was it. It just got... it just got... it went off script. It was like he just got told to make a news for a headset, and he was like, what the hell? And then before any sort of analysis or explanation, the screen just cut. And I was like, what is going on here? West Indies is a big organisation. It's a big cricketing nation. This is looking like village cricket out here. I don't understand, Mash. And now, as you rightly said, we put the news out on social media. People are asking us questions, what's happened? What's gone on? Because this press release has just essentially opened up a whole load of other can of worms where people wondering what's going on. But firstly, Mash, before we get into the finer details, just your thoughts in terms of optics and how this reflects on the region. I mean, Superbad, we'll get into it towards the end of the show. It was a mediocre tournament, if we're honest. This sort of culmination, as you said, it's not going to stay within the region. From a global perspective, it makes West Indies cricket look like a joke.
Yeah, look, we look like a joke thing. Now, I do want to give them, before I answer that question, I do want to give them some kind of due. At the end of the press release, they do say Cricket West Indies will review tournament regulations in light of the unprecedented situation of a double forfeit. Additional information will be shared following further consultation with stakeholders. Now, I'm assuming that Cricket West Indies will say, well, that's us telling everyone that, listen, this is unprecedented. We didn't see it coming. The captains have thrown us into a situation that we had no plan for. Now we need to go and speak to X and Y, Z and this cricket committee. Maybe there's disciplinary action to come. And that's cool. Start the press release with all of that stuff then. Santoki, that line I just read you is right at the bottom of the press release. Right at the bottom. Bear Man ain't getting to the bottom of the press release to read that little part. And even then, it's not really answering anything. Are there sanctions to come for Barbados? Are there sanctions to come for Jamaica? Where were the teams? What do you
and
mean? What do you mean the captains did shot? Where was everyone? Were they at the hotel? Like,
you know what? I saw it on the stream, Mash. They were all together. They were standing on the dugout. They were just laughing with each other. All the players, Barbados and Jamaica, they were there at the ground. That's what I mean. It wasn't like from the images I saw, it wasn't like no hostile thing where they were like, nah, we're not playing. It was like they were all just mingling with each other, and something had obviously. It was like they united together because something had gone on. And obviously, we know it's not just the captains. It wouldn't have been John Campbell independently saying, you know what, guys, we're not playing this match and I've had enough, we're gone. It would have been a whole team decision with management and that kind of thing. So what made them come up with this unanimous decision? Was it related to the rain? Was it separate? Secondly, I guess if you're a fan or if you're a sponsor, CG United, you're looking at this thinking, hold on, I spent 3 weeks following this tournament, possibly watching the games because it was on ESPN Caribbean, it was on YouTube for other people around the world. We know quite a few people that have been watching the games or following it. And there's no culmination. Why wasn't there a reserve day in the rules? That's not been clarified. Yeah. Why wasn't there a reserve day? We know in England there's a reserve day for the list equivalent of the 50 over list day cup to be played the next day. Why wasn't there a reserve day? If it wasn't in the regulations, why wasn't a compromise? Because it's Saturday. I doubt the players would need to fly immediately on Sunday. You surely could have a reserve day on Sunday. If it was in the regulations that there's no reserve day, what were the reasons for this? It just makes the fans and, like I said, sponsors on a wider level feel like it's basically been a waste of time following this tournament because you see no culmination. And what's going to happen then for the rest of history for 2024? It's just going to be an asterisk next to the Super 50, like nobody won it because the captains didn't show up to the toss. I think the ramifications from this are quite far-reaching.
So I want to talk about the reserve day issue first because that's actually, funny enough, Santoki, when I found out that, because West Indies, in fairness, did put out for their media channels, right? There's been rain delay. The latest the match we knew that early from like 1 o'clock. We knew the latest this match can start at 6:17. But the first thing I thought was, well, surely you've got a reserve day in place. It's the weekend. Yeah. No one's going to watch regardless. So you don't have to say anything like, oh, but what about the crowds? If we hold it the next day, what if people had tickets? No one in Trinidad was going to care to come watch that game. It's Barbados versus Jamaica. Respectfully, Trinidad weren't in the final. So you could easily have brought everyone back the next day and said, you know what, come, we go again. So that was a big issue for me. But that's not me saying react to it in the time. That's me saying that should have been a contingency regardless. So when they come out 2-3 months down the line and say, right here, following us speaking to all the stakeholders and gathering all the evidence together, this is what's the sanctions to follow and da-da-da-da-da-da. I also want to know, why was there no reserve day planned for? This is Trinidad, right? It's the end of rainy season, right? Or hurricane season. You mean to say that you didn't think that rain might have an impact? It had an impact throughout the tournament. So what? And then also what I'd want to say, Santoki, is I spoke to quite a few people who follow CCP, and have followed us for a long time. So shout out Trini Werewolf and all the Trini posse that follow the podcast, etc. They said to me this today that they pretty much intimated that even when the rain eased off, they said it eased off about 4:30ish. But they were but they didn't say it stopped. They said it started to ease off. I'm assuming, or we have to assume, Santoki, that the players were this isn't safe to play. You can tell us it's safe to play, but it's not actually safe to play. And they probably made a decision as a 2-team collective to say, we're not going out there in these unsafe conditions. It's been raining the whole time. And now you want us to go out there and run up and down on a wet field. But again, Santoki, we're assuming that. No clarification has been given whatsoever. But the other thing I want you to touch on, Santoki, is prize money. So what happens now? The winners of this tournament were supposed to get 100 grand, was it US? And the runners up 50, right? 50,000. So if there's no champion, what's happening with the money then? And did the two teams say to themselves, "Can we split this 100,000 between us?" Where's the money going, Santoki? That's what I want to know.
Listen, 100k is a lot of money as well. And yeah, like you said, I think firstly what you said there, based on our assumptions, like I said, the optics of the fact that both teams were side by side laughing with each other by the boundary vote when the match was called off suggests that it was a unanimous decision. And secondly, Mash, like you said, the prize money, does this mean it's going to be given, to maybe development of youth projects or something along those lines? Is it going to be equally distributed among the franchises? Will we know, obviously, the Barbados Cricket Association President Conde Riley, we know he's a very outspoken president. Will Jamaica and Barbados say, you know what, we made the final, we're entitled to the prize money here, we're the two best teams in the region, we need to get something. It's not our fault. If it was a case of the players didn't feel safe enough to play, which is what we're assuming at the moment, they could say, we were put in an unjust position, we still should get some sort of prize money or some sort of compensation. Like I said, I think the ramifications are going to stretch out, be far-reaching and go on and on, because there's a lot of different sort of aspects to it. So the prize money is another big thing. And again, Mash, like you said, it goes back to your original point. If you're going to wait pretty much 24 hours to drop a press release about this, at least make sure it's thorough and addresses all these points, because this press release reads as if it was done within 10 minutes of the decision made and they just wanted to get the news out. They had 24 hours to let it marinate, soak in all the information, think about what the audience is going to want from this press release. And they haven't done that. It's been rushed and it's led us to answer more questions. So in regards to the prize money, I would guess, informed assumption here, I would guess the money wouldn't go to Jamaica and Barbados, because the argument would be they chose not to play, and ultimately that was their decision.
So what do they get? Do they get the semi-final money then? 25k for reaching the semi-final?
So this is the thing, because I guess that would depend on the review and whether, if Jamaica and Barbados are found to have unjustly refused to play the final, surely you're basically disqualified from the whole tournament in terms of your performances. However, if it's going to be an independent review and the adjudicator says, listen, they had a claim, they had the right to say no, then that opens up another can of worms in terms of the prize money has to be distributed to them. So it's going to go down a complicated and messy route. And like I said, Mash, me and you both know the politics within the region across different territories and franchises. I mean, this ain't going to be we're dropping a statement, case done. This is going to be we're dropping a statement, appeal's going to be made, debate's going to be had, cuss-out's going to be had, probably some sort of legal proceedings as well. So this is chapter 1 of what's going to be a very long story.
Yeah, 100. Do you know what? And as you were saying that, do you know what's running through my head? Let's just say, argument's sake, that Jamaica and Barbados are in the wrong. Let's just, and this, what I'm about to say is to educate people, both inside but more so outside of the region, as to the politics that happen in cricket in the region. Let's just say, Santoki, Jamaica and Barbados are in the wrong. Cricket West Indies, I would assume, have disciplinary protocols in place. Maybe not for a double forfeit, because in fact in their press release they say, in light of the unprecedented situation of a double forfeits, they probably don't have a protocol for a double forfeit. But let's just say at the end of this review and process, they're like, these two deliberately messed up the tournament and went into business for themselves. We have to hand out a punishment. An apt punishment may well be, boy, we're banning you from X, Y, Z. But here's the thing. If the punishment is too strong, Santoki, Barbados and Jamaica will not vote for Kishore Shallow should he stand for re-election in 2020. I'm telling you, that's how it would work, Santoki. So even then, it's a really tricky ground of how to manage this situation, because men will hold a grudge. associations will say, you can't do this to us, X, Y, Z. So for people outside of the region in particular, it's not even as straightforward as saying, right, you two mash up the tournament, here's the punishment, now you're going to hold, because it has a knock-on effect on anything you then try to get done in West Indies cricket. Maybe I'm wrong, Santoki, but based on how politics work in our region, that's even a next problem that might come.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think with the elections are pretty much 4 months away, there's going to be a lot of navigation and a lot of sensitive sort of maneuvering, I think is the right word, around all of these issues. And again, Mash, I think just going back to the point, this ain't even like a fake cup or nothing. It's not like even like CPL or Guyana Super League. This is the Super 50, running since 1972. Rowan Kanai, Clive Lloyd, Garfield Sobers played in the first edition.
Heritage.
It's actually one of the few things left we have in West Indies cricket that is a heritage, like our modern history, and it's been done out like this. I hastily put together a press release saying, listen, John Campbell wasn't feeling it, he didn't want to come out.
In many ways, this sums up West Indies cricket in the modern era. In many ways, everything and anything that everyone's ever kind of scratched their head and said, but why? This almost sums up everything, really and truly. But like you say, Santoki, we'll wait to see now what comes of all of this. We may get a couple DMs from people saying, no, it weren't like that, and so on and so forth, which is fine. But we're here more to say this is what the optics look like outside of that. And I think if anything sums up the worth that Caribbean Cricket Podcast brings to the cricketing landscape in the Caribbean is we are probably the best at just talking about, irrespective of the actual story and what the full details are, this is what the optics look like. We'll always look at that before anything else.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Okay, that was 20 minutes of I want to start here, Jazz. Firstly, I don't even want to start with the players just yet. Let's start with the West Indies Cricket Board. In number one, putting out a press release less than 24 hours or within a 24-hour span, but just saying, look, both teams didn't turn up. And the questions are being asked, why weren't the teams on the pitch for the toss? That's number one. Number two, where were according to one of the analysts, they were standing on the pitch just technically having fun. And we know, you and I know as well as anybody who follows Barbados and Jamaica cricket knows that Barbados and Jamaica never ever sit together.
Forget about that, my friend. Cricket in a hole, my friend. Everybody wants to win. So if two teams are in agreement, something is wrong.
Exactly.
Because as everybody is saying, a double forfeit is unprecedented. That should show you the nature of where we are.
But the question still lies. Why put... Fine. The press release is needed. Fine. We need it. But in putting a press release together, shouldn't you
dot your I's and cross your T's?
shouldn't you think of questions that the world will ask? So at the end of the day, if Jazzy put out a press release tomorrow about let's say Sollyhood Radio going on strike tomorrow for the rest of the week, anybody can go to Mr. Smith and say, hey, why is Sollyhood Radio on strike tomorrow? Well, this is the reason. The reason is because, and it has to be a valid reason. You can't just tell me it is because. You can't.
Yeah.
Nobody will buy that. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Where is West Indies cricket going? Can somebody tell me? I've always said, if you want things to be clean in terms of a river, you have to start from the head. And based on what I'm seeing, the head needs more cleaning than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And what surprised me is, for number one, like I said, you put out the press release with no question, with no answers. And who in their right mind, like Santoki says, who in their right mind are gonna? A lot of persons don't even have the time to read through the whole entire press release. So, which means they will be missing a whole lot. Shouldn't you put the most important things at the top of the press release before releasing it?
Exactly. But one thing I said before is today. What if we have a situation where Barbados and Jamaica put out their own press release?
What will they say?
What will they say? Because first of all, your press release ain't saying anything.
Exactly.
So if Jamaica and Barbados put out a press release, okay, guys, here is the truth. We didn't play because of X, Y, and Z. Well, we didn't believe that the pitch was safe enough. There wasn't an extra day allotted to this match, where we believe that an extra day supposed to have been allotted to this match, or we believe that we came here for 50 over, and by the time the 50 over was supposed to have ended, this 2020 would have gone past.
Exactly.
The one day.
We did not.
Whatever it is.
Firstly, we did not sign up for a T20 match. We signed up for a 50 over match, which means if the rains, and the analysts says, it's not like you did not know of the rainy season. You knew of it.
Look, we were saying earlier, when in the Caribbean, we expect rain.
Not only for the fact that you knew of it, rains actually fell during the tournament. What, do you expect it to be like, oh, it's the final, so no rain?
Good luck with that one.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then, of course, the substitute day, I just believe, okay, Caribbean Premier League, for example, I don't know about any other leagues around the world, but I know for a fact of the Caribbean Premier League, we have at least 2 or 3 reserved days, just in case anything happens. Are you saying that you just put the games together thinking everything will be done at the appointed time?
But let me ask you a question. My brother. You were saying that in the CPL there is reserve days. The CPL has been played in the Caribbean.
Yes.
So you're going to tell me that West Indies cricket, who is part and part of the CPL, knowing that there is reserve days for the CPL, in a match like this, not going to put a reserve day. How comes?
But you put a reserve day for a minor league
CPL?
person.
Yeah, but you have a reserve day for CPL, but no reserve day for the Super 50. Let me ask another question. And matches, no matter whether it's the big league or the small league, supposed to follow international standards?
Exactly. Every league, every game. Okay. What if? Case in point. I wish it does not. But what if rain falls for the rest of the week as it regards to West Indies and Bangladesh? Do you have reserve days for that? I don't think so.
No, I don't
Because
think
if
so,
you can't
Michael.
have reserve days for a Super 50 match, are you going to have it for an international match?
Well, in that case between this 10 to 20, I think whatever happens will happen. I think I have my own doubts about Test match cricket, which might be another match, another show for another topic. That I don't think that two teams are supposed to play 5 days, and at the end of the 5 days or 4 days, how many days that is allotted to their Test match? But it's a draw. I think that's probably sure. But that's
Fine. Okay. Good. All right. Fine. But let's get back to the matter of hand in terms of the Super 50 match between Jamaica, and it's not like a first round or a second round. You're looking at the final. So when next year comes, what are you gonna say? Oh, we didn't have there was no defending champions, or there's no defending champion to come into the 2025. What, are you gonna go all the way back to 2023?
these are the questions that they need to answer, but again, the press release don't answer anything. Well, at least this press release, there might be other press releases, but this one certainly ain't saying nothing.
Trust me, I would not even want to see the press release. Trust me. Why would I want it? There is nothing for me to see. And no, the question arises. The question rises. If, and the operative word is if let's say Barbados and Jamaica has been hauled to the courts, meaning the bigger heads, what are they going to charge them for? What are they going to be sanctioned for? Because, for number one, if I was in a position like that, my health come first. Why would I want to be running up and down on a wet pitch? And then, firstly, I'm not even getting enough pay. What am I going to do? How is my medical bill going to be forfeited? Are you going to pay me for my medical bill? Are you going to give me my medical bills? I'm sure you're not, because if you can't pay me.
Let's look at let's come to a more practical lens. So we know that he's reading in some manufacturing correctly, right? So and so forth. We haven't said it. So let's say the umpire say, guys, let's try to have some match after tea. And after it comes, there's still a slight drizzle around, still the ground is still soggy as hell, right? And the umpire say, guys, let's start. And when Mr. Magnus say, we're coming.
Alright, you want me to go further? What if Barbados and Jamaica actually took to the field when the umpire says play is going to be resuming at 6:20? What if in the middle of that T20 match somebody gets some kind of let's say for example Ravman Powell, for example, if just said he went to dive for a delivery, and because of the slipperiness of the pitch, he actually fell and break something. What are you going to tell me?
Sorry.
Or versus okay, the pitch is not fit enough. Let's call the game. Let's call the day an end, and let's try to see if we can play at least tomorrow. And like the analysts said, like Santoki said, it's not like Trinidad is going to bust their bubbles and pack their bags and go to the Grand Lara Cricket Academy because Trinidad is not in the finals. So you're not losing anything.
Exactly. But the question is, even if they were in the finals, all you had to do was, okay, guys, just another tickets for today's match. It's yesterday, blah blah blah. Whatever the case is, just come with your ticket. We will still take it, and we'll have a match.
Exactly.
Moving right along.
We wouldn't have had this to talk about. The most we would have had to talk about was the fact that rain fell on the final day when the match was supposed to be played, but we had a reserve day. We played the match, and X or Y is the champions for the tournament. That's it.
Yeah.
So going into 2025, this person will be, or this team will be the defending champions going into 2025. No, we don't want it. We want confidence. We want saga as in regards to the West Indies. But then again, it's the West Indies Cricket Board. What do you expect?
Yeah, we don't want no peace. We just want problems. Well, what I would say is this, more will be coming out of this Super 50, but I can definitely tell you all. And then we were going to wait to see what is the way. Because a lot of things are unsaid, which need to be said, from why it didn't come out of the field. We still don't know why. We don't know why. So we only have with speculation because we don't know why. That's number one. What happens to the money? Because we know there's practically what happens to what? Are the sanctions to come? We don't know. We don't know nothing. All I know is that I know nothing.
We technically know the press release did not say nothing. It is as simple as that. It did not say nothing.
Well, the only thing that it said is that something happened. That's all it.
It said nothing. Telling me that something happened is the least of my problems. Why did it happen? How did it happen? That's what I need to know. You can't just tell me the rain fell. Where did the rain fall? Did it fall in Guyana? Did it fall in St. Lucia? And why? Oh, it's because of the hurricane season. Okay, cool.
So, but we shall see what happens. But like I said, if the WISB ain't able to sort themselves out, don't be surprised if you see Jamaica and Barbados sitting at the own positions, because for me,
it wouldn't surprise me.
I know that wouldn't be the best thing to do, because basically, you have the teams now coming up before the bigger bodies and so forth.
But you're not. But you're not coming clean to the public. So what do you expect the players will do?
And then to be his word against his word.
Well, for example, if the players, whether Barbados or Jamaica or both, comes up with a press release, what does the West Indies have to prove that this was not or this was the reason? Nothing.
Well, it will be left up to them to not produce the evidence, because this is why you put a press release in the first place. It's to do damage
Say
control.
so in the first place, instead of having me pulling and digging for everything that it is not worth before you actually come with the truth. Why didn't you just come with the truth and call it a day? This would have been done and dusted.
Well, that was supposed to happen, but since it wasn't done, you now give those teams the opportunity to come out and say their part.
Well,
because again, the press release is supposed to do damage control, but since damage control was not done,
let's just say the press release has created more damage than stopping damages. So, listeners, we will keep our eyes and ears and everything on that, and we will keep you up to date as it regards to the Super 50 saga. That's exactly what I call it. The Super 50 saga.
Yeah. The Super 50 saga 2024.
Yes, sir. Yes. Indeed. Alright, so without further ado, with some 29 minutes to go, we have two back-to-back clips to play. Firstly, the latter part of the podcast, just technically summing up the Super 50 tournament in a nutshell, and of course we still have the Parasports clip to play for you. This week we're gonna focus on blind baseball. So firstly, let's take the final cricketing clip, and then we head into the Parasports. What say you, sir? Indeed.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
But Santoki, if we can, let's briefly consider the tournament itself. So obviously no champion at the end of it all. CCC and West Indies Academy ended in the bottom two, which was probably predicted, would have been predicted beforehand. Jamaica, probably the team that outdid any expectation, given how bad they've been in all formats of cricket since about 2022 or the end of 2022. Guyana, possibly a surprise that they didn't make the final four. Windwards performed worse probably than people expected, but you called it a mediocre tournament, Santoki, but there were some positives. I mean, Justin Graves set history, and he's just scored a century. He's come off the back of that and scored a century in the first test against Bangladesh. So we can't be too down on it and say it didn't lead to anything positive. If anything, I'm sure Justin Graves will say, boy, Super 50 really gave me that extra platform to go and do what I've done in the first test. What do you make of the tournament, Santoki?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think whenever you have a 3-week tournament, there's going to be some positives. I think Justin Graves, Amir Jangu, who we'll get onto, obviously, will come out and say, listen, I had a good run of 7, 8, 50 other games. It's put me in the right position to make a claim for the West Indies ODI side. Justin Graves, we've seen him carry on that form in Test cricket, maiden century yesterday against Bangladesh. So there have been benefits. I just think overall, if you were watching this and this was a premier 50 over competition and you were watching it West Indies, you would think some of the play was atrocious. As much as we saw some positive play, there were some down bad moments and games. You talked there about Guyana. I think after watching the first 2 games, it wasn't a surprise to me that they made the top 4 because they were down bad. I mean, admittedly, they had the likes of Hetmeyer, Rutherford, Romario, Shepherd, Shamar, Joseph, Moti all out. So you essentially saw, Tejnavan Chanderpaul and Matthew Nandu opening in a 50 over game, which is never going to work. In a 4-day game, yeah, but in 50 over, no. Guyana as well, just touching on there, because obviously I followed more of their games probably than other teams. Just that lack of strike bowler, Niall Smith was our only strike bowler. Rossman Beaton didn't show up for the fitness test, so he wasn't in the side. Like I said, Shamar Joseph was missing. Kevin Sinclair got sent home. It was never clarified why he got sent home, but then we saw him pop up as a substitute fielder yesterday for West Indies against Bangladesh. So a lot of things there. And I think, to be honest, Mash, I think also we were lucky enough that in 2021 and 2022, the majority of West Indies internationals played in Super 50. So 2021, I remember Pollard, Narayan, Hetmeyer, all those guys played. This year, it was just unlucky that, West Indies international commitments, and then we saw later on Abu Dhabi T10 took a lot of players. So we essentially saw this was a tournament for the best of the rest. It wasn't the premier West Indian cricketers, and I think it reflected that. There were ups, there were downs. I would still say overall, it was a mediocre tournament to watch, both batting and bowling wise. But like you said, there are positives to talk about. We aren't going to be too down bad on it because, like I said, it is what it is with the players available. So let's talk about Amir Janggu, because he was the top run scorer, 446 runs, averaged 89 for Trinidad and Tobago, fell short in the semi-finals. But Mash, Amir Janggu, someone, we've been talking about him for a while. He's someone who has always shown promise, but never had that breakthrough where you're like, all right, cool. He's done enough to kind of make the step up. He had a good first class season. He's built upon that in Super 50 for Trinidad and Tobago. Is it time? He's 27 years old. Did you see enough in Super 50 of Janggu, enough consistency to say, listen, he should get a call up on the international level?
Well, it goes back to that age-old thing for me, which is that if you're not calling up players based on domestic tournament, and Janggu has every right to say he's followed up this Super 50 performance follows up a good first-class season that he also had for Trinidad and Tobago. So if you're not going to pick players when they're consistently in the top 5, top 3, top 4 of run scorers in domestic competitions, what is the point of the competition? Now, Justin Graves has essentially had 3 tournaments in a row, Super 50, West Indies Championship, Super 50, where he's consistently been at in the right margins in terms of performance, and he's been called up and he's performed when he's got this call up now, right? So Janggu has every right to say, what about me? And for me, it's not as simplistic as saying, but who does he replace? It's just about put him in there in the conversation, in the same way how Jewel Andrew gets a call up for being a promising youth man. There's no reason why Janggu can't be part of a 15-man squad if somebody drops out for personal reasons or whatever it is. And then you look at Janggu and say, well, you're the next taxi on the rank. In the same way how Desmond Haynes refused to call up Darren Bravo last year, and that caused a big furore. You can't then ignore Janggu as well. Like you have to reward performance. So I expect to see Janggu in some squad. I don't know which version of cricket, but I expect him to see him in a wider West Indies squad at some point in the near future. But as for anybody else outside of that, I didn't really see anything else from any of the batters that had me thinking, and I expect to see you soon. I mean, John Campbell was back, which I think is important. He scored 278 runs in his 7 matches, average of 40. And interestingly for Campbell, he was the only person in the top 15 who had a strike rate over 100.
100, yeah.
So, and we have to be mindful of a lot of these players that we're talking about, their strike rates. I mean, Justin Graves was 98. So he was second behind Campbell in that top 15. Lots of them were talking about strike rates in the 80s and 70s. Like, we already got Shai Hope. We already got Casey Carty and Shai Hope. So that's not good enough. You're going to have to do better than being strike rates in the 80s.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, I think John Campbell's got a probably higher, based on stats, higher than you'd think, chance of getting a recall for West Indies, just because I think he was of an international standard. And then the ban happened, and he's come back, and like you said, in his first professional cricket since coming back from the ban, he's gone out over 100 strike rate, been one of the top scorers in Super 50. So there could be a very real possibility they say, you know what, based on his history as an international we know he's someone who can do it at an international level. Maybe not in ODI cricket, but he's someone who has made the step up to international cricket. And he's shown signs of development, because you could argue him coming off a 2-year ban, he's never going to be top run scorer going at 130 strike rate, because it's hard to make that adjustment. So the fact he's on the upward trajectory straight away suggests they could say that come into the fold. ODIs, Sammy he has got the record opening partnership with Shai Hope for in ODI cricket. So he's someone that could come in. But I agree generally, Mash. I think other than that, there's not really anyone. I mean, Lenico Boucher had a good season for Barbados, 351 runs. Sunil Ambers, Keon Otley as well in the top 5, but they're 2 players who you feel their time has passed in terms of West Indies recall. They're not really looking like that, but other than that, Mash, it's slim pickings. I mean, Kevin Wickham and Matthew Nandu showed some promise, but again, for youngsters, there was inconsistent. It's not enough to say, all right, cool, they're ready to make the next level. You'd imagine they'd have to go again. The only problem is, as we talked about a lot of times before, in terms of going again in 50 over cricket, you've got to wait a whole another year to play 7 games. So
and actually, that's important. And this is why, looking at someone like a Graves and a Jangu, this is why in West Indies cricket, you haven't got time to stake your claim by performing every 12 months. You have to put back to back. You have to go Super 50, West Indies Championship, Super 50. You can't see it as, I'm just going to wait a year. Anything can happen in a year. You've got to perform in any single competition that comes your way. Graves has, and that's why he's in the West Indies squad. So the kind of challenge and expectation is clear to everyone else. But Santoki, I did a video, I can't remember if it was episode, I don't remember if it was yesterday or I can't even remember, it must have been yesterday. But one person who did perform and always performs Santoki is Rakeem Cornwall.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I did the video knowing that enough uncles would go, nah, I did it on purpose. But the point is, I actually was also being serious. So Rakeem Cornwall ends the tournament, Santoki, with the top wicket taker, as he always often is in the first class championship. 23 wickets at 12 apiece, economy 4.2. There's no chance he'll ever get a West Indies call-up in white ball cricket. But if we're going to say that Jangu deserves a call-up, how comes it don't apply to Rakeem?
I think it's like what you elaborated on your episode yesterday, Mash. Is a lot of people can't get the optics of Rakeem Cornwall's size, basically, as in, and you don't know whether that spreads to Cricket West Indies in terms of the selection policy. I think that's always going to be an obstacle, and you're always going to have the narrative of, I know in all cricket, well, particularly West Indies cricket, we see poor fielding and that kind of thing. Whereas I think with Jimbo, if it's poor fielding, it'd be down to, he's overweight. That's what happens when you pick someone who's overweight, kind of thing. So I agree. I think we'll regularly see Jimbo top the wicket taking charts in red ball and 50 over cricket year on year because he's too good at a domestic level. I just don't think we'll ever see him play international cricket. It's something we talked about a lot of times. I just think it's the optics, Mash. I just think there's not, especially with the highly, like the run out in CPL, for instance, the amount of damage that did for his kind of credibility, kind of will always hinder him. So I just don't think we'll see, Rakeem Cornwall. It's a shame because he is a good cricketer. We saw when he was in the test side, especially at slips, what a good fielder he was. And, performances like when we got that historic away win in Bangladesh in 2021, we saw what pivotal role he played. So he's someone who can play international cricket. I just don't think we'll see him. And then if we go to Markino Midley, Mash. So Markino Midley, I haven't seen this guy since that Australia tour when he bowled about 2 overs and then got injured. Markino Midley's come in second on the wicket taken chart, I should say, and Yannick Correa at third. With Markino Midley, let's just touch on that first, Mash. Is he someone you can see getting into the West Indies white ball setup? Obviously, we're in need of, pacers in 50 over cricket. Is he an option at this point?
Has to be. And to be fair, with both my Jamaica hat on and without my Jamaica hat on, people have to remember that before that Australia tour, Markino got called up because he was literally on the verge of a call up anyway. He was at the time seen as, he'd been so consistent in domestic cricket that he was very much seen as he is the next option after like an Anderson Phillip. We're going to Markino Minley. I may have the other way, might have actually the wrong way round, but Minley at the time when he went to Australia deserved his chance. Obviously broke down. He's pretty much had a lot of injury woes since then. He looks like he's back to his best now, and you just alluded to why I think he will get a chance, simply because Sammy has made it clear that they're searching for another pacer. In white ball cricket, particularly 50 over cricket, they've got what? Probably Alzari Joseph, Romario Shepherd and Matthew Ford. Yes, Shamar's just made his debut, but they know that they lack consistency when it comes to regular white ball options. So I don't see why Markino wouldn't get a chance in this upcoming Bangladesh tour. So I'm expecting them I'm expecting Markino to be in a squad, if not the Bangladesh one very, very soon. So I think he's got a chance. But then, I mean, I heard you call Yannick. I mean, if you look at the top 11 wicket takers in the tournament, the 8 of them were spinners, Santoki. So you always have to be careful with highlighting spinners because we know that year after year, competition after competition, spinners are going to dominate the top wicket taking chart. So it's very hard to look at any spinner. It's why I called Jimbo, because he was so far ahead of everybody else. But you look at Yannick and you're like, yeah, but we've seen you at international level. Like, and Hayden Walsh was 10th. We've seen you at international level. Jamel Warrican, maybe Jamel Warrican's worth a go, but obviously he's in the test team right now. Then you got Javar Royal, Kari Pierre, Romario Green, Brad Barnes, and you're just looking at it going, no. So, and this fits your thing again about down bad tournament, because respectfully, Brad Barnes for Jamaica took 10 wickets at 25 apiece. Brad Barnes ain't supposed to be taking 10 wickets. Respectfully to Brad Barnes, like, I saw him against, who did they beat in the semi-final? Leeward Islands. And he was just floating the ball up. And I was like, he ain't even doing anything special and he's just bowling man down. So we have to be very careful when we analyse spinners in our competitions.
And we've seen it time and time again. Remember that year when Andre McCarthy for Jamaica turned into Brian Mumley?
Took a hat-trick.
Yeah, got a hat-trick. Mad. But the Super 50 heritage. But Mash, if we look at, I guess, two sort of bright spots in terms of the bowling, Jediah Blades, I think, is one to watch out for the West Indies Academy. Bowled really well. A puzzling one for me, Mash, is Akeem Jordan. So he was, fifth leading wicket taker? Yeah, fifth leading wicket taker, 14 wickets. Now it's bizarre to me because he obviously got a call up for the England tour for the third test. Was in the squad, didn't play. Then he got to deal with Kent. Played 2 matches. I commentated on one of the matches, and the Kent setup was really impressed with him. He took 6 wickets in one match. So he had that impressive build-up. And then it comes to Super 50, and he's playing for CCC. Now, I get that, obviously, CCC, they have to have experience. They generally go with a veteran captain. So we've seen, Shane Dulwich, Dennis Ramdin in the past. For me, it seemed like a waste of talent to have Akeem Jordan in the CCC setup. Bearing in mind, he's just come off the England tour, got a stint in county cricket, which is rare for West Indian cricketers. Surely he would have, I don't know what the situation is with Barbados or what's going on. Surely he would have been better served playing for a quote unquote bigger side, just to kind of highlight his abilities, because he did take a 5-wicket haul in his last match against Leeward Islands, who were the semi-finalists. So Akeem Jordan is someone, again, a pace option, came in the top 5, but I just feel we could have used his talent better by putting him in a different franchise for this tournament.
Yeah, I'd love to know where Akeem Jordan's name is in West Indies selectors' depth chart, both in the white ball and in red ball, because I just see him as someone, his name's always mentioned, but he never gets a run. Yeah. So he'll forever just perform, and you're like, well, is he international standard or is he not? And as you said, he got a county deal. There's plenty of other bowlers who are apparently, according to our selectors, better than him. They ain't getting no county deal. So where is Akeem Jordan in this, in our depth chart planning? And so say, for example, I just said to you, Marquino Mimley should get a call up, right? Should he be getting a call up ahead of someone like Akeem Jordan? Technically, no, because Akeem Jordan's been on the cusp of the side already, and technically, as you say, was called up to England ahead of someone like a Marquino Mimley. So it's hard to answer that one, Santoki. Marquino has more pace than Akeem, so that's why I'd put Marquino ahead of Akeem. But maybe they just don't think that Akeem is quick enough for international standard. Maybe he'll just always be that guy that they don't think quite has the pace that's needed, and he's more a swing bowler who needs conditions to be in his favour. I don't know, Santoki. I've no idea.
Yeah, it's bizarre to me. I mean, this could be a whole episode in itself, but if you look at the Barbados sort of setup, we had Jay McAllister last year, who was kind of on the cusp of a West Indies call-up. We haven't seen him play. Well, I think he played Super 50 last year for Barbados, but I haven't heard his name. Obviously got Akeem Jordan playing for CCC. Then you got the likes of, Shamar Holder, Keon Harding. It's like there's a lot of fast bowlers being produced in Barbados. We're just not seeing any sort of development. They sort of just go off the radar. So I'm wondering if it's what the setup is or what the reason is, because as I said, Akeem Jordan should have been playing for Barbados in Super 50 realistically, bearing in mind his status and how you would assume he's on the cusp of or close enough to a West Indies selection, certainly more than a lot of other bowlers in the tournament. So that was one puzzling thing for me, but I agree. I think Minley, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets called up for the ODI series against Bangladesh. I think Justin Graves, especially with what he done against Bangladesh in the test, he will definitely be a call up in the ODI setup. We might see Amir Jangu, but other than that, I don't think there was enough promise shown in Super 50 for us to see massive changes going into the next ODI series.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, and I think it's the last thing we'll just say here, if you're a player or anybody connected to any of the franchise setups in the region, my advice is very, very simple. You have to produce in the West Indies Championship. That starts early January or late January and goes through until late April, early May, right? You have to produce. It's not enough to say, I had a good Super 50. It was a mediocre tournament that didn't really show us enough difference. Yes, people say, Mash, there was more hundreds. Okay, yeah, cool, but we're talking about the eye test as well. So for you to come into the conversation, Justin Graves is now your benchmark. You have to produce competition after competition after competition. Unless you're Akeem Cornwall, you'll never get picked. So you have to produce regularly in order to really be in conversation. One tournament's not enough. So I think that's it for me, Santoki, in terms of what this year's Super 50 really showed us. I'm sure there'll be people, get us in the comments below as ever. Let us know what you think. I'm sure you're going to say there's somebody we missed out, and there'll be the odd person here or there, Santoki, who showed us bits in like one match here and there, but we can't look at it like that. It's got to be consistent performance. It has to be. It's not enough anymore to say, but this man bowled well in this one game against XYZ. Did they do it consistently? If you can't do it consistently at domestic level, you definitely ain't doing it consistently at international level. It's as simple as that.
I think one thing I'd like to see going forward next year, I know obviously we're scheduling it's hard, but try to have Super 50 outside of at least white ball commitments for West Indies. So at least we can get some nucleus of players, because there's no context unless you're playing the best in the region. You don't know how good. It's all well people hitting 100, but if you're hitting 100 against, CCC or West Indies Academy, for instance, or even a down bad Guyana, what does it reflect? Whereas if you're up against West Indies international players like a Jaden Seals, Anderson Phillip, Shamar Joseph, for instance, at least it gives some sort of context. So I'd like to see that going forward. However, I know obviously with administrators, it's often hard with the increasingly condensed schedule to get that in, but I think that would massively benefit the tournament, because we have seen 2021 and 2022 the benefits of having the nucleus of international players playing in Super 50.
One last thing, a challenge for somebody in the comments below. Can somebody tell us who are the top 5 run scorers and wicket takers if you remove all performances against West Indies Academy and CCC? Oh, yeah. And that might sound harsh, Santoki, but I'm intrigued because they were the bottom 2. And with respect to West Indies Academy, this was the weakest iteration of West Indies Academy we've seen so far in terms of a set of players where you're like, they're clearly not ready yet. Whereas before, you've had men like Kevin Wickham and Kevlon Anderson and them men where you're like, you can see that they're kind of ready for the step up. This year's batch, I was like, yeah, you man need about 3 seasons or 2, so whatever it is to get up to levels, if you see what I mean. And CCC obviously were down bad. So I just want to see how strong people were outside of those 2 teams. But that's for somebody to go do the work for us.
I mean, I think if we're being honest, CCC and West Indies Academy are development teams. I would argue in Super 50 there should be a rule going forward that the points you score against those 2 sides don't count. You just have them as development side, like in football.
I hear you.
No, but in football, like if you look in like Spain and stuff, Barcelona will have a B team in Division 2 or 3. The points don't count. They're just there. They can't get relegated or promoted. It's just there to develop the young players, but also they're not weighted as equal to the other teams in the league, which I think is fair enough, because you could hit big score against CCC. Doesn't really reflect much because the development side is not equal to hitting 100 against Barbados or Leeward Islands, for instance. And I think that weighting could be applied. Like it wouldn't be it wouldn't be too derogatory to CCC or West Indies Academy. I think it's a development process, and that will be part of it. So, yeah, Mash, as you said, it's a forgettable tournament. We're not going to be talking about it in years to come. There have been some positives, and I think it will have a small impact on West Indies selections, at least in the immediate future. But forever, we will remember this tournament as the tournament with no champion. So, just to clarify once again, because I need to say it out loud just so I can process this. Super 50 this year, after 3 weeks of following it, we've been following the down bad scores, tuning into streams at all hours of the day. Mash was so close, Jamaica Scorpions had their hands on the trophy. It's the ghost tournament because there is no champion. I repeat, there has been no champion crown for Super 50. And with that, Mash, I think we have to end on that note. Actually, comment, like, subscribe as always. Caribbean Cricket Podcast, we're always out here with objective views. I know people will always argue with us. We'll get a lot of DMs after this. But we tell it how it is from the perspective of the fans. As we always said, our motto from day one, by the fans, for the fans, okay? And that's how we always keep it. So follow us, Instagram, TikTok, X, Discord, Patreon,
Blue
Facebook, Blue Sky. Well, Blue Sky as well,
Everywhere. Just type in Caribbean Cricket Podcast into Google, people, and you can find us. Listen, we're out. It's been a long episode, to be fair, but never a dull day in West Indies cricket. We'll be back very, very soon. See you all soon, people.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes. Never a dull day. There has never been a dull day in West Indies cricket.
Never.
Never a dull day in West Indies cricket. Wow. Earlier you surprisingly we don't even have the time to talk about this final clip, not even to play the Parasports clip, but read the West Indies and the Bangladesh. There was a release some 5 minutes ago from Ian Bishop.
Yes, there is actually play as we speak. The toss was had. Bangladesh chose to bat first, and we are now waiting for the men to get on the field, and hopefully they don't walk off and start match.
I hope they. Well, it's a good look because unlike Jamaica and Barbados, they took to the pitch to do the toss. So.
Play should be beginning anytime soon. The toss has been called. The men are rallying themselves on the field. But based on the time that we are starting, we look like we're just going to have one session basically and a little bit more before the end of the day.
Yeah, 3/4 of the day technically has been. So, because officially match starts at 10 o'clock in Jamaica, finishes around about 4:55. Play so, and lights at Sabina Park. That's a different story. So let's see how much the boys can get out of the new ball. Try as much as they can to put Bangladesh under pressure from ball one. So possibly at the end of the day they can say, they did.
They get at least four wickets or so after this.
They did get They did get something from the day's play at the end of the day. So let's see exactly how that goes. For sure. We'll keep you up to date and let you know exactly what goes on as regards to the West Indies and the Bangladesh. This is the second of 2 test matches playing. Well, this one is being played at Sabina Park, and this is day 1 of 5. remind you that West Indies actually won the first one by 201 runs. Courtesy of Alzari Joseph.
Yeah. So with that said, the move that Bangladesh can do is to level it, but they cannot win it.
So we have potential of winning the test series. We can't lose, that's for sure. The only thing Bangladesh can do is lose or draw the match. We can only draw or win the series. So let's see exactly how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, on the behalf of the sports team, myself, Jazzy Smith, Mr. Sierra Debe, and of course Kennedy Wave, we wish you a good afternoon, and of course join both of us tomorrow around about 4 o'clock GMT time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, for another edition of
Behind
the Curtains.
We will begin Christmas early. That's all I will say.
Indeed. So, with a Christmas special, as the boss says. So, stay tuned for that. Indeed. Hey, so do remember coming up 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. JA time. We have the man of the moment, DJ Lex, of course, driving you all the way with some good vibe, good music, and of course, good conversation. Hey, Kennedy, please forgive me. Good vibes, good conversation. We need some of that from Lex. So, you're not the only one that can give us that kind of stuff. I mean, Lex can. So, let's see. On behalf of the team, like I said,
I guess DJ Lex is driving us to midnight. Okay, moon right along.
On behalf of the team, it is goodbye for now.
Bye.